Jai Janendra to everybody. Welcome back. We've had this particular topic of Bhagwan Parshvanath's life on hold for about 5 weeks while I was away. And you had an excellent series of talks on Arihant Vandanavali from Inaben Vora, and I'm sure you all enjoyed that. Today, I thought we would, because we had a long gap, we'll just recap on the ongoing topics so that from next week onwards, we can get back to discussing the life of Bhagwan Parshvanath, which we started at the sometime around the end of May when we stopped the class. Let's start with the prayers as usual. Namo Ariyantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Utsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Sabba Pava Panasano, Mangalanancha Sabbe Simpadamam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vatsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Sabba Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Sabbe Sim Padamam Havai Mangalam. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Sittanam, Namo Ayariyanam, Namo Vatsayanam, Namo Loe Sabba Sahunam, Eso Panchanamukaro, Sappa Pavapanasano, Mangalanancha Sabbe Simpadamam Havai Mangalam. Veera Sarasura Surendra Mahito, Virambuda Sansrita, Virena Bhiyata Swakarma Nichayo, Viraya Nityam Namaha. Veera Tirthamidam Prautamatulam, Veera Shighoram Tapo, Veera Sri Dhruti Kirtikanti Nichaya, Sri Veerabhadram Disa. Anguthe, sorry, Kamathe Dharanendra cha Sojitam Karma Kurvati Prabhusthalya Manovrutti Parshvanath Sriyestu Vaha Anguthe Amritavase Lapti Tada Bandar Sri Guru Gautama Samariye Manavanchita Fadadata. Okay. Before we start, does anybody have any questions from this class or the Bhagwan Parshvanath, this particular subject, or anything else that you learned about in the last 5 or 6 weeks? As usual, we welcome you to switch on your videos if you want to. Okay. So no questions. Bhagwan Parshvanath, or 23rd TIRTHANKAR. When we started the class, as usual, when we describe any Tirthankar Paramatma's charitra, it starts with a discussion of some of their previous lives. And as I explained to you before, traditionally the discussion would start in the life that Tirthankar Bhagwan achieved a level of spiritual progress that would guarantee further progress and emancipation to the ultimate life as a Tirthankar Paramatma. The number of lives after the achievement of Samyaktva, that is the step of spiritual progress, that a Tirthankar Paramatma has before the final life, when they would become a Tirthankar and achieve Keval Gnan, and then at the end of that life go to moksha, varies. So you heard that with Bhagwan Parshvanath in this Tuesday class that we'll be talking about, or we have talked about 10 lives. Previously, we've talked about Bhagwan Mahavir Swami, who had the last life was the 27th one. Recently, last week, we started a discussion in the Wednesday class, which is a different subject, about Bhagwan Malinath. And Bhagwan Malinath, after achieving Samyaktva, she had only one life in between, and then the next life she was born as Tirthankar Paramatma Bhagwan Malinath. And as we learned in that class, she achieved Keval Gnan on the same day as she took Diksha. So most of you know that Bhagwan Malinath was the only female Tirthankar, and that in itself is an extremely unusual, rare event that only happens probably in millions of choices or never. With Bhagwan Parshvanath, we saw that most of the discussion is related to the particular association or the relationship between Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul and the soul of his brother in the first life. So Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul's name, or the person that he was then, was Marubhuti, and his brother in that life, elder brother, was Kamat. And an incident happens in that life that sows the seeds of enmity in the heart of Kamat, which he holds on to very strongly, and that pushes him back with Bhagwan Parshvanath in life after life. And we see on the one hand that Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul progressively becomes purer and rises up in spiritual development to a point where his birth as a Tirthankar Paramatma is guaranteed, whereas on the other hand, his elder brother Kamat, who holds on to the enmity that he had solidified in that first life and continues to be troubled by it, though he doesn't know, but that progressively takes him down through a path of severe pain, suffering, and harboring intense anger and hatred, even without knowing or having the ability to actually analyze, why do I feel such hatred towards this one person, and who is this person who actually I've never met before, but he's somebody that I want to go and hurt or kill. And we saw that in life after life. So let me share my slides, and we will come to some of the things that we discussed at the last class where we ended. And then we can carry on with the discussions. All these are slides that you've seen before. I just altered the date. I haven't added any new material here today, but I will update them. Just as a reminder, you've seen this particular slide we're comparing Bhagwan Parshvanath on the left-hand side, Kamat on the right-hand side. First life, Bhagwan Parshvanath Marubati, Kamat as the first life, the same name. Second life, Bhagwan Parshvanath as an elephant, Kamat as a snake who ends up killing the elephant. Third life, Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul, after a peaceful and progressive understanding of dharma in that life as an elephant, his next life is that as a Vaimanik Dev, which is a fairly high status and a long life of a lot of happiness. But Kamat's soul, following his life as a snake, gets born in Narak, where he spends an equal amount of time as Bhagwan Parshvanath in Devlok, Bhagwan Parshvanath's Jeev in Devlok, and he spends an equal amount of time in Narak, suffering all the pain and difficulties without any kind of relief in that life. Fourth life, Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul as Kiran Veg, a Vidyadhar, and Kamat's soul as a large snake, a python. Fifth life, Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul in the 12th Devlok, Achyut Devlok, with a very long lifespan of 22 Sagarupams. But Kamat in the 6th hell, Chatti Narak, with a similar lifespan of 22 Sagarupams. Life 6, Bhagwan Parshvanath Vajranab, king, and Kamat soul as Kurangak, a cruel bill, a cruel hunter who ends up killing Vajranab. Life 7, Bhagwan Parshvanath soul as Grevek Devlok, Lalitang Dev, Kamat 7th hell, where there is a very long lifespan. Life 8, Bhagwan Parshvanath souls at Chakravati Suvarna Bahu or Kanakrat, and in this life he binds the Tirthankar Nam Karma, which guarantees him a life as a Tirthankar. And Kamat's soul from the 7th hell gets born as a lion. Life 9, 10th Devlok for Bhagwan Parshvanath in Mahaprabhiman, lifespan of 20 Sagrupams. And Kamat's soul in 4th hell with a lifespan of 10 Sagrupams. So here we see that there is a slight mistake here. The Suvarnabahu Muni in life 8. So there is a slight discrepancy here. The life of Suvarnabahu Muni, that is Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul, he becomes a monk and he comes to a mountain called Kshirgiri, surrounding which there is a very dense forest, which is quite frightening. And that particular forest is called Kshirvarana. And the Muni is in Kausag Dhyan, he is unmoving in a state of meditation. And the soul of Kurangak, the bill hunter, after having gone through the seventh hell, gets born in the same forest as a lion. And on that particular day, he's roaming around. He is very hungry. He has not had anything to kill and eat for a few days. It says actually the previous day. And he was very hungry. And just then he sees the Muni standing in meditation very peacefully. And he understands that this is going to be an easy kill, and he gets ready. He comes near. It says that he pushes his tail down, prepares to strike, and he rushes towards the Muni Surnabahu, and he jumps and hits the Muni with one of his forearms. And as soon as the Muni realizes that this is probably going to be the end of my life, he immediately takes Pachkan and says that I'm not going to eat or drink till the end of this life. He asks for forgiveness with complete peace in his mind, without any anger or hurt or any kind of ill feeling towards the lion who has just struck him. And he asks for forgiveness for any sins that he may have committed in this life and in previous lives. And soon after, because of the strike from the lion, he dies, and the soul departs to the 10th Devlok, Mahaprabhu Viman, with a lifespan of 20 Sagrupam. The lion, meanwhile, after his lifespan finishes, dies and is born in the fourth hell with a life of 10 Sagrupams. Now, you can see the difference between the lifespan of Bhagavan Parshvanath's soul in Mahaprabhu Viman of 20 Sagrupams, which is a very, very long time. But the lifespan of Kamat in the fourth hell was of 10 Sagrupams. So before they meet again, Kamat's soul spends 10 Sagrupams in many different lives, mainly as subhuman life forms. And most of his lives have subsequently are full of difficulties, full of the usual pain and suffering that one expects to see in an animal life or subhuman lives. And after a long time, he is then born. And when we say a long time, the word that is used here, the question that arises in our mind is how many lives? The word that is used here is that he had countless lives. So it says, Asankhya bhavoma dukhno anubhav karto. After a long time, he gets a birth as a human being. And the life as a human being is in a very poor family of a Brahmin. And soon after his birth, his parents die. Also, his brothers, sisters, all his relations die. And the people around him, seeing that there is a young boy who has lost his parents and any other person in the family to support him, have pity on him and help him to carry on with a meager life. And it's the people around him who actually named him Kamat. And Kamat, because he was born in complete poverty, he was surviving on the goodwill of the people in the village, and he was not considered to be very lucky. And not everybody was as kind as one would expect. So he was probably suffering from a lot of difficulties because other people were not so kind. And he actually had great difficulty getting together a meal any day. So once he witnessed some very rich people in the town that he was living, and he saw how they dressed, how well they looked, and how happy they seemed to be from a material point of view. And he thought that all these people have performed some penance or tap in previous lives. Therefore, in this particular life, they have become wealthy and are leading a good life and have no difficulty in feeding themselves and enjoying good material wealth. So he says, maybe I should perform some tap in this life so that I can guarantee a level of wealth and happiness in the next life. And in his simple understanding, that was the key to ensuring that our life is happy. And from what he saw around him, he decided the best path to follow would be to become a tapas and perform penance. So Kamat in that life becomes a tapas. This is just the picture of that last life, Suvarnabahu and lion. Just a reminder of what we just talked about. Does everybody understand what we talked about the Tirthankar Nam karma? It is a karma which is probably the most auspicious and powerful karma. But does everybody understand what it actually means and how one acquires it? Can I ask somebody? How does a Tirthankar Paramatma acquire Tirthankar Nam karma it's usually formed up in the third life prior to being born as a Tirthankar? Anybody? Bijal?
Pranam, Ajitbhai.
Pranam.
Is it, Jerry, when they shed all the ghati karmas?
When you shed all your Gati karmas, you achieve Kevalgnan.
Oh, it's before that.
Yeah. So your the soul's effort to bind karmas is minimized as soon as you shed all Ghati karma, then you don't generally bind any other karmas except simple Satavedniya karma or just suffer whatever Asatavedniya karma you might have until the end of the life when you go to moksha. So how does one acquire Tirthankar Nam karma?
Can I try?
Yes, Shalaben. Yeah.
प्रणाम सॉरी हाँ बोलो बोलो
Okay. Pranam, Ajitbhai.
Ah.
By being kind and by being absolutely selfless when with trying to offer something to somebody.
Okay. So does that mean everybody who is kind and is selfless will bind a Tirthankar Nam karma?
Not always, but
Okay. Anybody else? Jai Shriban?
પ્રણામ એટલે વિનય એટલે લાઈક પાર્શ્વનાથ ભગવાન વખતમાં એવી રીતે હતું ને કે લાઈક એમણે બધા જ કલ્યાણક ઇવન દેવલોકમાં હતા ત્યારે એ પોતે તીર્થંકરોના કલ્યાણકમાં હાજરી આપતા હતા સ્વયં પોતે એ એક રીઝન હતું અને બીજું આઈ થિંક એમના
A reason though that was after he had actually bound the Tirthankar Nam karma in his previous life. એટલે તીર્થંકર નામ કર્મ એમણે બાંધી લીધું હતું અને જે એમના ભગવાન પાર્શ્વનાથ જન્મ્યા એ પહેલા જે દેવલોકમાં 20 સાગરોપમનું આયુષ્ય હતું ત્યારે તો એ આ બધું ક્રિયા કરતા હતા તીર્થંકરોના કલ્યાણકોને એ અટેન્ડ કરતા હતા ત્યારે તો ઓલરેડી તીર્થંકર નામ કર્મ બંધાયેલું હતું અને સત્તામાં પડ્યું હતું which would come guaranteed come to fruition in the next life.
ઓકે તો નથી ખ્યાલ
I've explained this before, but in terms of Darshana,
I have a question. Visual benefit bhakti karma, and you mentioned a few other names of the karmas. What do they mean?
so Ghati karma means that which destroys. Ghati means Ghat means to destroy. Ghati karma is the ones that destroy the soul's essential qualities. So Gnanavarniya, Darshanavarniya, Mohaniya, and Antray. I think the fourth is Antray. So, and the most powerful of them and the most dangerous is Mohaniya karma. And Mohaniya karma is the karma that generally, that is the karma that binds the soul into constant cycle of life and death from one life to another, one life to another. And Mohaniya karma has two arms. So these four are the Gati karma. The strongest of them or the most powerful of them is Mohaniya karma. And when the Mohaniya karma gets destroyed, then the others follow very quickly. So at the point when the soul achieves Keval Gnan in the life in which they will achieve that, all the four Gati karmas will get destroyed and they achieve Keval Gnan at that point, and Mohaniya karma has been rid of completely. What is left is the other four karmas, which are minor, which are called aghati karma. They don't destroy or suppress the essential qualities of the soul. So they are a nuisance. They are not necessarily going to impair the soul's progress. And one of them is Nam karma. Nam karma has got many, many different subdivisions or prakrutis, but Tirthankar Nam karma is one of the prakrutis of Nam karma, and it is a special karma. And Tirthankar Nam Karma is achieved by the soul when there is a very intense desire. So, Sheila, when you mentioned kindness, but we also need to remember that this is a karma. This is Pudgal that is bound to give the soul a state, and this is not something that the Tirthankar Paramatma's soul is actually making a conscious effort to do. It just happens that they have an intense desire after realizing the true nature of the soul and understanding the reasons behind the soul's state of constant unhappiness and what actually engenders the circumstances which keep the soul in sansar. And they understand that for themselves, obviously, but also about all life. And then they do a lot of. So, Vijal, you've done a lot of taps. There is one particular tap called Vistanak tap. You may know about that. So, Visthanak, there are many different Arihant, Siddh, Acharya, and there are many different steps. But out of a way of conducting themselves, improving their inner qualities, of purifying their soul, but the core of it is an intense desire to help all living beings become free from this cycle of life and death and go to moksha. And it is that intense desire. So when we say we really want to help somebody, so Sheila, when you mentioned, it is not just a simple wish. It is a wish that is actually so deeply felt that it has the power of making the person a Tirthankar in a future life. And that is formed up in the third life previously. So anybody remembers the verses of Snatra Puja that describe this?
Is this Savijiv Karu Sashan Rasi?
जो होवे मुझ शक्ति ईसी सभी जीव करो सासन रसी सुचि रस ढड़ते तिहा बांधता तीर्थंकर नाम निकाचनता. Then it goes on here. सराग थी संयम आचरी वचमा एक देव अनुभव करी चविपन्नर क्षेत्रे अवतरे मध्य खंडे पणराज विकूले. And then the next stanza starts about the 14 dreams. So then this ends with the description that as soon as the Tirthankar Paramatma's soul enters the womb of the mother, she sees these 14 auspicious dreams. Now, every Tirthankar Paramatma binds this karma, and that guarantees them the life as a Tirthankar. And it is something that they don't set out to do, but because of the nature of their soul and their benevolence and their desire to help as many people as possible, nature grants them that particular power. And nature says, yes, you are the person who has desired this, you have the power, and I'm going to give you all the circumstances that would guarantee that as a result of your birth and your spiritual progress, you will be instrumental in transforming lives. You will be instrumental in setting up the path or rekindling the path of moksha. So you would become a tirthankar. Tirthankar means to start off a tirth. A tirth is the path towards moksha. So that is what nature guarantees, and nature has that mechanism, and a Tirthankar Paramatma in our part of the world, that is Bharat is born at a certain time when the circumstances are correct and when the particular Tirth or the Sasan of the previous Tirthankar has started dwindling. Then a new Tirthankar is born, and that happens 24 times in one Chovisi or one Ausarpini and one Utsarpini. Whereas this is the case in all the 5 Bharat Kshetras and all the 5 Airavat Kshetras. But in the Mahavidya Kshetras, which all have a huge landmass, and each one has 32 Vijayas. Each Vijay is like a separate world, and each Vijay can have a Tirthankar Paramatma. Does anybody remember when we had a Tirthankar Paramatma in all the Bharat Kshetras, all the Airavat Kshetras, and all the Mahavidya Kshetras with all their Vijayas? I mentioned this before. So does everybody know how many Tirthankar Paramatmas we have currently who are alive? Not
Is it
here.
170?
Yes, it's 170. That was how many? When was that?
During second Tirthankar.
Yes. So at the time of Bhagwan Ajitnath, every Bharat Kshetra, every Airavat Kshetra had a Tirthankar each, and each Vijay of all the 5 Mahavidya Kshetras, that is 160 of them, had a Tirthankar each. So in total, there were 170 Tirthankars all alive at the same time. At the moment, how many do we have?
20.
20. And what is the time span of one Ausarpini and one Utsarpini?
Is it 20,000 years?
20 Sagaropams.
Exactly.
20,000 years is a minuscule time. A Sagaropam, 20 Koda Kodi Sagaropam, not just 20 Sagaropams, 20 Koda Kodi Sagaropam, out of which in this current time cycle, the first era was 4 Koda Kodi Sagaropams, second era was 3, and the third era was 2 Koda Kodi Sagaropams. So a total of 9 Koda Kodi Sagaropams, during which time there were no Tirthankars. It is in the 4th era that the birth of a Tirthankar Paramatmas begin, and the 4th, 5th and 6th eras together, the length of which was 1 Koda Kodi Sagaropam. So in that 1 Koda Kodi Sagaropam, all the 1 Koda Kodi Sagaropam minus 42,000 years, that is the time span for the 5th and the 6th era, 21 and 21,000 years. So 42,000 years subtracted from 1 Koda Kodi Sagaropam is the length of the 4th era, and it is during that time that all the 24 Tirthankars were born. In lesser and lesser distance between each other, the next one. But during that time of 10 Koda Kodi Sagaropams of this particular era, there were many, and I've read from one of our Acharya Maharaj's book that the number of Tirthankars that were born in this time cycle, in this Ausarpini that we are currently living in, is asankhya, meaning innumerable. Most of them, all of them, or most of them, in Mahavide Kshetra. Because the maximum lifespan of a Tirthankar Paramatma is 84 lakh purva generally. So all the 20 Tirthankars now have a lifespan of 84 lakh purva. And when were they all born, the 84 Tirthankars? They were all actually born
During 17th.
as Kunthunath Bhagwan. And they will be around until sometime in the next Chovisi, because they have a very long lifespan of 84 lakh purvas. That
Ajitbhai,
about, yeah.
sorry, one question. Will it, they ever, all 170 Tirthankars ever be together again at the same time?
They may, so you're asking whether there may be another time when there will be a Tirthankar in every area where they can be born. Yes, it's possible, but this is not a common event. So in this particular time cycle, we've had 10 unusual events. They are called Das Acheras. And those are almost never events, meaning that they hardly ever happen. But in this particular time cycle, and that is why this particular time cycle is considered to be a really difficult time cycle. So other time cycles in the past may not have been so difficult. So this is called a Hundak Ausarpini. Hundak means that it is going to be quite difficult. So what we are seeing in this current, say, fifth ara in a Hundak Ausarpini is unusual, that our world is probably going through difficulties that this world has probably never seen before in a very long time. And there was these 10 unusual events. I mean, a lot of them happened during Bhagwan Mahavir's life. So Bhagwan Mahavir's soul being born in a Brahmin's womb, in a Brahmin woman's womb, was unusual. Bhagwan Mahavir suffering from the Tejolesha that Goshalak had thrown at him after he achieves Keval Gnan is also very unusual. Tirthankar Paramatma doesn't have any suffering after he's achieved Keval Gnan. So also Bhagwan Malinath being born as a Stri Tirthankar, that is also a very unusual, rare event. So those are some of the interesting facts that you may want to try and remember. Let me just share the slides again, just a couple of more slides, just to remind you what else we discussed at that time. So we discussed this at the last class in May. What is the basis on which the soul acquires such a powerful punya karma and understanding karma? We had a brief description of that. I asked these questions at that time, and I presume you all understood the questions. When did our journey as the soul begin? What should be the final destination for every soul's journey? Why? What happens if you do not have a destination to go to? Do you understand the destination? What is a better goal? Constant movement or stillness? Happiness is activity or inactivity? Stillness, choose. Shall I can I take a vote? How many of us are happy doing nothing? And how many of us are happy being constantly active?
I think if you raise your hand, if you are happy with being still.
So nobody likes stillness except Bijal. So Bijal, you want to go to moksha. The rest of us all want to stay here because there is nothing to do in moksha.
No, I like to do that, but it doesn't mean I'm always doing it, sadly.
Yeah. So the soul's purpose is to be within itself and be completely dissociated from everything else that is not of itself. Why? Because that is where there is total happiness. Because when you are completely detached from everything else and you are completely within your true self, then you are the happiest. You are completely expressing all your potential, all your abilities, and you don't have any other desires. And that is the state of moksha. So there's no body, there's no mind, there is no speech. You are a free, independent soul, which is full of joy, which does not require anything to supply that joy. So the biggest fallacy and the reason why we are still in samsara is because we seek fulfillment in other things, other events, other relationships, other achievements that are not of us, that are temporary, that are of the world that is not permanently part of us. But we hold on to that and we try to make that part of us. And we are all constantly seeking joy. That is the prime mover for every life. But we seek joy where it doesn't exist. We feel happy if we eat a nice meal. We feel happy if we've achieved something. Does the meal have the power to give us happiness? Who feels the happiness? We, the soul. If the meal had the power to give us happiness, instead of one meal, if we ate 10 of the same meals, would it still make us happy? At the same time, one after the other, because it's so delicious, we carry on eating. After the second, third, fourth, to enjoy that meal, we would have to vomit and clear our stomach before we had this next meal. So all the things that we think are actually making us happy, and the same thing goes for achievements, for relations, for everything. They are all temporary constructs. We've attached ourselves to those, and therefore we believe that they are the source of our happiness. But the happiness is felt by the soul inside, that is we, us. And we falsely believe that it comes from those things, but those moments of happiness are not pure. But the soul has the ability to feel that joy without any of those things. Bija?
Does I think maybe you just answered the question. I was going to ask, like, one sensed beings and two sensed beings, maybe. Do they experience joy?
They are seeking joy. Every life is seeking joy. So they are seeking fulfillment. They all have what is called bhavman, the instincts. So what are the basic instincts? Ahar sangna, to eat, to feed. Maithun sangna, to procreate, to join up with other beings. Because we think that meeting somebody else and joining up with another human being will give us joy. Ahar sangna, maithun sangna, bhai sangna. Sangna, it's an instinct. We want to protect ourselves. If there is a danger, we are frightened because we will want to protect ourselves from that danger. So bhai sangna. And parigraha sangna. Here is the thing. Parigraha sangna is to accumulate, because we are attaching ourselves to things. So even a one sense life form, this is mine, that is not mine. So even a tree, one sense life form, may form an attachment to something that is buried underneath it. So all life is seeking joy, but seeking joy in things, situations where there is no possibility of lasting joy. So, just very quickly now to end. You see, the difficulty is that unless the soul begins to understand its true nature, begins to separate itself from these temporary joys and desires, and begins to experience some of that. So there are two steps. One is to understand. Intellectually, one may understand, but unless one actually begins to experience some of this joy that comes from total separation, one will never understand and will not actually make the effort to progress towards that. So experiencing is what is the basis of the spiritual emancipation, and that initial experience, the knowledge and the experience, is what is called samyakto. So Bhagwan Parshvanath's life starts with the narrative of Kamat that we learned about, and we come to the point where Kamat has become a tapas. So Bijal reminded us, or Jai Shriban reminded us, that Bhagwan Parshvanath's soul in the 10th Devlok, he spent a lot of his time attending the different kalyanaks of all the other Tirthankars that were born during that time while he was in Devlok. So there will be lots of Tirthankars that could have been born in that time, because his lifespan was 20 Sagrupams. So lots of other Tirthankars who were born in Mahavide Kshetra during that time. And then the conception Chavan on Chaitra Vad Chot, the soul of Bhagwan Parshvanath comes to the womb of Vamadevi from Devlok. The 14 dreams. The birth happens on Posh Vad Dasam, and the celebration of the birth on Mount Meru by Sakrendra and others, 63 Indras, and crores of Devs and Devis. That is the beginning of Bhagwan Parshvanath's lives, and with every Tirthankar, that particular celebration happens, because that is the role of all Devs, Tirthankar Paramatmas, all of them, the Indras particularly, sorry, not the Tirthankar Paramatmas, the Indras have that role in their life, and every time the Tirthankar Paramatma is born, they fulfill that role by taking the young baby Tirthankar Paramatma to Meru Parvat and celebrating his birth by washing him, his body with huge amount of water from all the beautiful oceans around. So we discuss this. We won't go into that, but at the last class we did talk about the concept of eternity, no beginning, no end. And the last line here, the stages of spiritual development and moksha. At some stage, we will talk about the 14 gunasthans, and we'll come to that. Okay, I'll end here. Any questions? Can I ask?
One question.
Yeah, Sandip.
It's not something that you have mentioned before, but in one of the lectures, one of the lessons before, I think it was on Tuesdays, but can't remember when. It was mentioned that when we were doing Mahavir Bhagwan's birth, Kalyana, birth, and they took him to Mount Meru.
Mhm.
As you just mentioned in your last,
Yeah.
There were Indras as well as Devs, Devi, but
Mhm.
were also, and it was mentioned there that they were also from beings from the Netherlands. Is that true? Is that what happens as well?
So Netherlands means there are
Like
Bhavanpati Devs which are underneath the surface. So there
no,
were
not Devs,
ah,
not Devs, but like I don't know whether I can't remember, but it's from the Naraklok.
no, there wouldn't be, because the souls from Narak never escape there until their lifespan finishes. They
Yeah.
wouldn't have the ability to go anywhere else. They are trapped there for the rest of their life, however long it is. So when we talk about the Netherlands, so it is actually the Bhavanpati Devs, whose avas or whose houses or abodes are underneath the surface of the Madhyalok, and there is a huge expanse of those abodes, and there are descriptions of that. At some stage when we talk about that, we can go into the details. Those are Bhavanpati Devs, and yes, they would have the ability to come, but definitely not people from Narak. And
No,
human beings as well, generally, unless they got special powers, they would not normally be attending those celebration events. They're, as far as I'm aware, predominantly the Devs who perform those rites.
yeah, because I mean, because it was mentioned there, I was a bit confused. So
No.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Any other question?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So like for the next Jovisi, obviously no Shranik Rajan, they would be like the next Titanka. Would they already have bound the Titanka karma?
A lot of them probably have, maybe not all. So we know, for example, that Ravan bound Tirthankar Nam Karma, bound the Tirthankar Nam Karma while he was actually playing the veena in Ashtapad Parvat Derasar, while his wife Mandodari was dancing. And we know he bound the Tirthankar Nam Karma at that time because of what he did in ensuring that Mandodari's dance carried on, and then there wouldn't be any interruption in the bhakti. So his devotion to the bhakti, and that is a level of devotion So all these intense feelings and all that, it's the intensity of those feelings and this devotion and dedication that finally binds the Tirthankar Nam Karma.
Thank you.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Ajitbhai.
Yeah.
If all the Tirthankars were taken to Mount Meru as babies, as a human form, how would they be able to reach there?
So, good question, Mira. If we, and again, I would say that I think we as a class, maybe I'll ask Sandipbhai, should actually have a Snatra Puja, and we can recite that and I can explain. Everything is actually described there, but it's a beautiful series of poems, stanzas. But basically, as soon as a Tirthankar Paramatma is born, the Indra Sinhasan in Devlok shakes a bit. He uses his Audhignan to understand what has happened. His Audhignan tells him that a Tirthankar Paramatma has been born somewhere. He knows where. Before he does anything else, he sits down there, he bows his hand in the Chaityavandan Mudra and recites Namuthulam Sutra and that is why Namuthulam is also called Sakrastav. And then he makes the announcement, he tells his people that now make the announcement that the Tirthankar Paramatma has been born and we need to prepare for the celebration of his birth. So the message goes out to all the Devloks, and there is a particular dua there in the Snatra Puja. There is a large bell called Sugosha. Sugosha Ganta, that bell is rung, and the sound of that bell goes to all places. And then people are reminded that there is a big celebration, you must all come. So then there is a description of what happens, how people hear from each other and they all prepare. And the Indra Maharaja himself, along with his large retinue, forms a particularly large Viman, and they fly. So there are descriptions of what happens. So when they are outside in the very far regions, so for example, if they are coming to Bharat Kshetra, they are coming from an extremely far away distance, but the Vimans have the ability and the Indras have the ability to actually move them very fast. But they are huge Vimans. They are actually, one of the descriptions that I remember, and I may be wrong here, is that the Viman is one ek lakh yojan, meaning it's the size of Jambudvip. But as it comes nearer, they shrink it, and then whenever they come to the place where the Tirthankar Paramatma has been born, and then they will come to the mother, bow down to her, make her sleep, and then put an image or a putlu of similar to what the Tirthankar Paramatma by her side. So even if she wakes up, then she doesn't get shocked or distressed. And then take the Tirthankar Paramatma with them to Mount Meru. And on the Mount Meru, in a particular place where it is designated for this, they would set up the celebration, and all the devs would then get huge amounts of water from Kshir Samudra and pour over this. So with Bhagwan Mahavir, there is a particular concern that the Indra expressed in his mind. He was thinking that how will such a small human baby be able to withstand this tons and tons of water that we are pouring on him? And Bhagwan Mahavir understands his particular concern because he, the baby Bhagwan Mahavir, has got Audhignan. And the story goes that he realizes that Indra is having doubt about me as a Tirthankar, and he has forgotten how strong and powerful a Tirthankar is more powerful than the Indra. So he says, I need to demonstrate to him. So in his mind, he says, let me show him what a Tirthankar can do. And the story goes that he presses his toe onto the mountain itself, and the force, the power of that press is so great that the whole mountain starts shaking. And then the Indra Maharaja begins to worry that what has happened and who is actually disturbing this very auspicious event. And then he uses his Audignan and realizes that this is what Bhagavan Mahavir is trying to tell him, teach him, that he shouldn't be doubting the power of a Tirthankar Paramatma. So to answer your question, a Tirthankar Paramatma is probably the most powerful being in the universe in that particular life. So that is part of the power that comes with the Tirthankar Nam Karma. So going up to Meru Parvat, being taken there by somebody is no difficulty. I mean, if you imagine the kinds of deadly paris that Bhagavan Mahavir suffered, no ordinary person would have survived any of those. So the power is almost infinite. So there's a super body, and then that would not actually, nobody would be able to destroy that body with anything until the lifespan expires.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've taken quite a long time. So I hope you all enjoyed this. From next week onwards, we'll carry on with the life of Bhagavan Parshvanath. If I have said anything that is against the teachings of our Tirthankar Paramatmas and our Guru Bhagwans, I ask for forgiveness. Chinagna Viruth Kaimpan Bulyo Ho, Tesu Manuchan Kaya Kari, Tasmichami Dugudam, Swaramangala Mangalyam, Surakalyan Karanam, Pradhanam Suradharmanam, Janam Jeti Sasanam. Stay well. See you all next week.
Thank you, Ajitbhai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meera, Darshanaben.
Thank you, Ajitbhai.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ajitbhai. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeshwan. Meera, Darshana.